All aboard the Hogwarts Express. Today we have a special treat for all of you muggles, wizards, and magical creatures. You guessed it, we're talking all about Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. This beloved book establishes the enchanting wizarding world and has captivated readers, along with movie fans and theme park aficionados, for more than 20 years. Albany just finished a community read of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, and now it's time to talk about our favorite characters, best moments, and themes that resonated with us. Join Lisa, Alex, and Anne as they discuss the beginning of the epic journey of the boy who lived.
Hi, welcome to this episode of Albany Made, where we are wrapping up our Harry Potter Reads event with 3 librarians who love Harry Potter. I'm Lisa from the Washington Avenue branch, and I am a Hufflepuff. I am loyal and true.
And I'm Alex. I'm from the Arbor Hill branch, and I am a Ravenclaw. And yeah, I are smart, you know?
This is Anne. I'm a library assistant at Pine Hills, and I am the resident obligatory Slytherin.
What are Slytherin's qualities? I don't ever remember.
Oh,
that.
sorry.
Cunningness, right?
Cunning, pride, ambition.
Pride, ambition, and cunning.
That's how I got to be the successful person I am today.
Maybe I should have looked up Ravenclaw's qualities so I could have sounded more intelligent.
I have the Hufflepuff as the Hufflepuff is loyal, just and true as my background thing on my phone.
Oh, there you go.
Here we go. Cleverness, wisdom, wit, intellectual ability, and creativity. So do you guys want to talk about how we got into Harry Potter?
I would love to talk about how we got into Harry Potter.
Lisa, why don't you start us off?
Funny thing is, I don't remember how I got into Harry Potter, besides being a children's librarian, working at my small public library next to Albany. I remember telling you guys the story about how I must have read the books after I started working at the library. I started working there in 2001. And I remember watching the movie when I was homesick one day with my son who was 7 years old. And I thought he shouldn't watch the first movie, because it would be too scary. And lo and behold, there it was, too scary, because the first movie gave him nightmares. But then I remember when the 6th book came out, and it was like, don't read it, don't let it out to the people before Tuesday. And it came on Friday, and I was a bad kid who brought it home and read it all weekend like lickety split. So I remember reading it from the beginning and laughing out loud, like reading it in the parts where there's the funny bits or the comic relief as you go, and laughing out loud and thinking, this is a good, enchanting story.
That's awesome. I love hearing everyone's origin stories.
And
you want me to go? Oh, all right.
Please.
I mean, it came out when I was still in the age range to be reading it, but I didn't for some reason. And I don't know why, but I remember my younger sister started reading them, and I would tease her, telling her, "Oh, these are just a fad. You just want to fit in, whatever." And I was a really mean older sister. Sorry. And then in college, my freshman year of college, my people in the dorm were going to see the second movie. And I was like, I want to belong, which, belonging's a big component in this book. It's like, I want to fit in. I'll go see this movie. And it was so magical. And even though, it's, the movie versions aren't necessarily the best, but it was just it sucked me in. And so I went back, and someone had a copy of the first book that I could borrow, and I just started reading it. And over my winter break that year, I read all the books that were out just in rapid fire succession. And it was just, it blew my mind. It blew my mind. Alex?
I got into the books, and I'm really going to age myself. It was my 6th grade Scholastic Book Fair. And I remember watching one of those goofy little videos that Scholastic would make introducing their books, where they animated the cover of the book and had Harry kind of flying on his broomstick. And I was like,
Scholastic Book Fair, I'm sorry, wasn't that just like the best? That was the best.
That was the best. And I think I bought it for like, it was like $5 or something at the book fair on a paperback copy. And that thing is like literally falling apart now because I read it so many times.
You still have it?
I still have my first one. They are on my shelf. They are in horrible condition. I'm still illustrated ones to have like a nice copy, but I can't like ever get rid of my first copies. So I read it when I was like 10, 11. And I remember being like, where's my letter? And then having to wait and be patient as they all came out was probably the hardest part of my childhood. So like, I think the first 3 came out in the United States pretty rapid fire, but then like a year or 2 for the 4th one. And I just remember like being so excited when I think we had it shipped to my grandma's house because we were on a vacation or something. And it's just every time it came around with another one being published, it was just waiting for it to come in the mail and like rapid fire reading it in one day. And they were just such a wonderful part of my childhood. And I think it was great because I kind of grew up with the character. I grew up with the difficulty level of the books, got a little darker as it went on. But that first one, that first time was just amazing. And I forced everyone in my family to read it.
Yeah. I mean, and that's like such a testament to just the quality and I don't even know, the staying power of the books. It's like, not even the staying power. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but like, I think I read up to book 4 and then had to wait for the 5th book. And I remember I went to the book house and they had like everyone in costume and they had horse and carriage rides. And, you know, you're waiting for midnight and everyone's like, ah, and it was such like the sense of community that it elicited. It's just not, you can't replicate that, I feel like.
And I think it's a testament too that like we all found it at different parts in our life and it still was appreciate and enjoy, like as a child, as a college age young adult, as an adult. It's like
absolutely,
you know, the story is very basic, you know, for the first one for 11-year-olds, which is great because it really can kind of, like I said, you can go with the books. But I just think it's awesome that like any age group, like if you haven't read them yet, you still have a chance to read them and get sucked in. Like you still could really enjoy them. Whereas I feel like some juvenile fiction, it's really hard to read as an adult. It just doesn't feel as like, it doesn't grab you in as much, or it's not as descriptive or.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But you know, as an adult, you can't appreciate it as much as you would have if you read it at that age, at the right age, you know?
Right. Yeah. The themes are, you know, eternal, right? Like, I mean, I'm sure we'll get into that later, but I mean, I think that's why it's so accessible at any age.
I agree. So should we talk about Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone and maybe some of our favorite characters?
Yeah. Let's dig in.
Let's dig right in. Let's get right in there. Anne, who are your favorite characters?
Oh, I don't want to go first. Someone else go first. All right, I'll go. That's fine. I mean, surprising no one, one of my favorite characters is Severus Snape. I don't know. I'm interested to see what you guys have to say about it. What did you think of Snape in the first book? Like, were you intrigued? Were you like immediately turned off?
No, I was like, what a horrible teacher. Why is he so mean to kids? And as an adult, I'm like, dude, these are 11-year-olds. Calm down. Like, you're the adult. Like, I mean, I've seen adults be like that with kids, but at the same time, I was kind of like, I didn't appreciate the complexity of his character until like much later.
Right. I mean, he's not immediate. I mean, obviously, as you go on, it's like amazing. But I feel like, wouldn't you as a kid be like, this class sounds sick? Like, wouldn't you think it's awesome? He's like, brew glory, like put a stopper to death. Like, that sounds so amazing.
Yes, you know? If I was not Harry Potter and didn't have him picking on me every class, I feel like it'd be pretty
right.
Potions is pretty cool.
I mean, I just think like he would be, I would just be sitting there like, what? This is so cool. And then I don't know, and just this whole presence that he has. just the way she writes him, like so much more than like Flitwick or, any of the others. It's just like, yes, like, this guy is something, and like, he's important, and he just has, an aura about him
that hints at deeperness to the character when Harry finds out that Snape and his father were there together and they didn't get along. Like there's more to it, but they're 11, like Alex said. So they just think
He's just a meanie.
that guy, and they're not looking at the big picture.
Right. It's really black and white for them.
I would say
in the first book,
a lovely bit of foreshadowing. You know what I mean? Like you can kind of see the complexity coming out. And just if we're going to, talk about the first book, I think this is a great opportunity to be like, if you really like the first one, you should read the second one. So like, it's like the more you go on, like this is the campaign for like Snape gets much more interesting. And like, I think she does a good job of realizing how, like you said, black and white an 11-year-old's world can be. And I think that's why it's shorter and it's a little like bad versus good kind of stuff going on, because that's how kids see things,
Right, exactly. Yeah. I mean, thank goodness we get all the backstory in the following books. I think the Snape plot line, throughout the series is my favorite. But my other favorite characters, which are like completely opposite of Snape, are Fred and George, which a lot of people, I think, write them off as like too goofy. But I mean, especially now, like rereading this in like the pandemic, it's like, what do you appreciate right now? Like they bring levity, but there's also something about them. Like they have a certain wisdom, I think. Like
they're obnoxiously smart tricksters. I think that's the part that's the most frustrating, is like Ron even says, he's like, but they still score really well. They're smart people, even though they're jokes.
Right. And they never like cross the line, like they don't go too far. They know where the line is. And like, I just appreciate them so much more now, I think.
I love where they march, when they march Percy down out of the boys' dormitory at Christmas time with the sweaters. So he's got his side and he's stuck in his sweater with a brother on either side. I think just the imagery on that is so much fun.
Right. But
Ron says that they never lost Gryffindor 50 points. Like they've lost Gryffindor points tons of times, but never 50 at one go.
Right, exactly.
They never had that much trouble.
Yeah, so I think they just bring so much joy. I don't know. Throughout the series, but
they're the comic relief. You need the comic relief.
Yeah.
I think the comic relief segues good into Alex and mine's favorite character, Mr. Snow.
We love us some Hagrid.
Yes.
I never got into Hagrid. I like, this is, I don't know. People
he's got like
hate
really
me for this.
He's got this really warm and inviting personality, and I feel like he's just cozy. Like every time he has, it's like in the hut and they've got a cup of tea, or he's just saying something in his own wisdom that is just so wonderful. I think to Harry, like there's something about the simplicity of the way he says things, or I also, he goes from this really cold environment with his aunt and uncle to somebody who like clearly has more of a parental familial type role, and like is treating him that way because of how much, Harry probably doesn't realize it, but how much Hagrid loved his parents. So I feel like it's almost like a big brother, father type character that's really like affectionate from the beginning. And I feel like it makes it go from like cold to immediately warm, like in the chapter he presents himself in, I mean, Lisa and I kind of talked about this a little bit beforehand, but I think you said your favorite chapter was the one where he shows up on.
Oh, The Rock in the Sea. That was the chapter I liked for the recap. And he comes and it's Harry's birthday and Harry gets the letter. And at the end, he gives Dudley the tail.
Yeah.
With a pig's tail from Hagrid's broken wand that is hidden away and is in his pink umbrella.
So yeah, he's just like, he's this fun character because he's like supposed to be an adult, but he has this very like childlike innocence sometimes.
Mm.
Maybe not always for the best. Like they wouldn't have known any of the stuff they had known about like the Sorcerer's Stone and like how to get past Fluffy if he hadn't told them. But, you know, I think that's kind of one of those things where it's like kids are paying attention more than you think when you're like talking.
Yeah,
like
that's true.
Little cups have big ears kind of stuff, but he lets a lot of things slip. But I mean, it's kind of great for that because you don't hate him for it. You're not like, dude, you messed up the whole like secret. Why would you say that? You're like, oh, Hagrid.
And that Dumbledore still trusts him, though, you know, like, like I love that
because he doesn't do it maliciously, you know.
Right.
Thinking about getting ahead, he's just, you know, living his best life and winning dragon eggs and telling strangers how to get past Fluffy.
And like we all make mistakes, and that's fine. You know, things will still turn out okay.
Yeah. I would say my other favorite character, and this is like no surprise at all, is Hermione. I just love how fiercely smart and like obnoxious she is. Like, I think I definitely identify on some level with her like neuroticism and how like, you know, grade grubbing and like, I don't know, she's always got to like have her hand up and be right. And like, as an adult, I'm just like, oh, I see you, kid. Like, I get that. And like, it makes it so that she has a hard time finding friends at first, but eventually I think Ron and Harry learn to like kind of like that about her or see the benefits of having her as a friend and realize that she's not all like an obnoxious tattletale.
But I think like what changes that is her you know, incident with the troll. You know, like I think that whole thing changes how she, you know, presents herself and sees herself. And I think it humbles her, you know?
Yeah, I think she needs to have a little humility. I think that's like, Harry's really cute when he says that wizard's chess is good for her because she doesn't win it every time.
Right, exactly. Yes.
I forgot how much they study. Like the end when the finals are coming, like she is doing revisions. Then she ends up doing revisions with them or for them. Like how much studying they were doing to be cut past their first year.
Yeah, it was way more intense than I remembered, I guess.
Especially for like 11-year-olds, like trying to think of like if I like sat down, hit the books hard in 6th grade, I'm like, oh, I don't know if I did that.
Exams. I should have started weeks ago.
I know.
The part that's like so painful for me though is when she's standing up in Snape's class, like trying to get him to call on her. And I'm just like, oh, like even now, like I cringe. It's so cringeworthy.
Yeah, she's so keen. She just like needs to like, she's got the answer. She needs to be the one who gives it.
Exactly. And she's like, why wouldn't he call on me? That's what teachers want. It's just like, oh,
she gets kind of punished in that class more than anything. Like she gets points in other classes for raising her hand and answering questions, and like Flitwick like will fawn over her, and then she's got this one teacher that's just like, did I call on you? It's like, so
right. Well, he was busy bullying Harry.
Yeah. My other favorite character, just briefly, is Molly. I just think she's really sweet. Like loving mother role that Petunia isn't. I think just the fact that she heard from Ron that Harry wasn't going to get any presents and she made him a sweater, like I nearly teared up at that part of the book because it's just so sweet because he hasn't had that like family connection, and I think for him the idea of someone going out of their way to like make him a sweater is probably got to be like so bizarre, like just so like, why, you know, that's so sweet. Why would she do that for me? I'm not one of her kids, but she's the type of person where she's just like, nope, you're one of my kids now. I'm gonna make you a sweater. You're part of the team.
How much was 50 pence worth in 1998? Because
I
that's
don't know.
why I don't forgot that the Weasleys sent him something, but I remember him saying like he got
Like the Dursleys.
like when there was another part where he says he got like clothes hangers or something for Christmas.
Mhm.
A dirty sock.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and dyeing Dudley's clothes. Like
Ugh.
Dudley's hand-me-downs, and Aunt Petunia's going to dye them so he can have a uniform for high school.
So, so according to Google, 50 pence right now is 62.5 US cents. I'm sure it has too much from the late 90s. I mean, there's inflation and everything, but so they sent him 62.5 cents for Christmas.
Oh, Molly's sweater was much beloved if you're only going to get 62 cents from your family.
Well, it makes sense why he would just like hand it over to like Ron when Ron thought it was the coolest thing ever. Lisa, do you have any other favorites to add to the list?
I think we covered it all. We covered all the people. We covered it. I'm pretty good. I liked Hagrid, and I don't know. Yeah. I liked Hagrid.
Interesting that none of us said Harry, the title character, but that's fine.
The titular character.
He's pretty cool. He's pretty clever for an 11-year-old. Some of the aha moments he has, I'm just like, I don't know if I would have gotten there. But
yeah, for sure. I wasn't that self-aware. I'm still not that self-aware. But I like Ron more now. Like, I didn't like him at first, but I realized that like that dude's snarky.
yeah,
And I'm like, I'm snarky.
he's also kind of like self-sacrificing for an 11-year-old, like the wizard.
Yeah.
He like is like, nope, I've my character, like not knowing what's going to happen when his character is taken out. It's like he's my character needs to die because then you can checkmate and you guys can go on without me. And it's just like that level of selflessness is just like so I don't know. I feel like you almost have to have it in a kid because it's so innocent. Like it's so innocent being like, no, you guys need to carry on. Whereas I think as an adult, you'd be like, no, there's got to be a way where I can figure out where all of us are going to like make it through here or something,
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about our favorite scenes in Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Lisa, why don't you go?
Well, I already said, the hut on the rock in the sea.
Mm-hmm.
And then Alex and I were in agreement about how the kids agreed they would be friends after the mountain troll in the bathroom, after they defeat the mountain troll. But from that moment on, Hermione Granger became their friend. There was some things you can't share without ending up liking each other. And knocking out a 12-foot mountain troll is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Hands down, best line from the book. Love it. I like chortled out loud. Chortled out loud.
And the Hagrid spills the beans. Those are always my favorite scenes. Or where Hagrid has let something slip that he didn't mean to.
And he's like, you didn't hear that. Forget about that.
Yes. So, Alex, I've given away one of your favorite scenes. What else do you have?
I really like Harry's first Christmas at Hogwarts. I feel like as a super middle class child, I didn't really appreciate that scene as much as rereading it as an adult. It's so like heartwarming. And like when you really think about an orphan kid who probably didn't get much for Christmas and his first Christmas at Hogwarts, it's just, he must have had such a strong feeling of like home. And this is where I belong because people were giving him gifts. And then he goes down and like has that Christmas dinner with the faculty. And he's kind of seeing the teachers more as like people and less of like authority figures. They talk about McGonagall blushing and because she gets a compliment from one of the other teachers and everyone seems a little like, having a good time at the party. So I don't know. It's just like something about it. Like I really appreciate like the idea of like finding your place, I guess, and finding the place where you fit in and like having those nice experiences. Like I can kind of liken it to like, I remember the first time I worked in a public library, I was like, these are my people. I found my people. And like, I just like, I don't know. I think I, as an adult, appreciate that sense of belonging like a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
I also really like the part at the end where Dumbledore's talking to Harry, and Harry either mentions Nicholas Flamel or Sorcerer's Stone, and Dumbledore was like, "Oh, you figured it out," and he was like proud of him. Like he was just like he kind of like Harry surprises Dumbledore in a way, but Dumbledore's also like, "Of course you figured this like whole mystery
Right.
thing." And it's just kind of like a sweet moment where I think Harry both surprises and impresses him, but also kind of like there's an affection there of like, you did it. Like, it's really sweet.
I didn't realize, were you reading it, that the wizard crackers, you get presents from the wizard crackers, like an admiral hat comes out, and Harry gets his chessmen from a wizard cracker.
I know, those are the best. Our crackers kind of suck in comparison. Like, a hat and like maybe a whistle. Like, I want an admiral's hat in my next Christmas popper.
I know. I started doing them because of the books, the Christmas popper crackers. Every year we do them now, and it's such a joy.
Same.
Yeah, it's definitely fun. Last year I actually got one with whistles, and each one had like a different pitch.
Ooh.
My parents and my sisters play like Christmas carols on them. It was a very interesting family holiday moment. Anne, what are you seeing?
Oh, hold on. Let me consult. Yeah, what did I write down? The Hogwarts Express. I love everything about the Hogwarts Express. It's like down to the red color of the train. It's like starting the year with such promise, you know, and they get on and everything's great for a little while. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I feel like she turns what might have been like a transitional moment, like, oh, they got on the train and got to Hogwarts, into
right, exactly.
Introduction into like some more Wizarding World stuff and like a place to meet some of the characters.
Right. It's so like, I just love the anticipation. And particularly in this book, you know, my favorite part is when Harry and Ron are, you know, really starting to become friends. And, you know, Ron's ashamed that he doesn't have any money. And then Harry's like, no, dude, I also was poor. Like, he's like, I'm new money. I'm nouveau riche. Like, I just came into this. And then like, and I wrote this down, like, it's such an authentically childish moment where they're like, yeah, let's spend this all on the cart of sweets. Awesome.
Yeah, he blows all his money on sweets.
Right. Like, and I'm like,
but do you think of like how exciting that must have been? Like, even me as an adult, if
I am excited about it sitting right here in my house, like,
let's talk about
a trolley of sweets.
Like, and just the idea that they're different sweets than you're used to. It's like not like
right.
You're like a chocolate frog. What is a chocolate frog? And like that moment where Harry is like, is it a real frog?
Right. And how the pictures move, and you know, he's starting to like see all these, you know, differences in the Wizarding world that, you know, as opposed to the Muggle world. Yeah, I just think that is really beautiful. And the other thing I wrote.
I'm sorry. If we could just talk for a moment too, how clever J.K. Rowling is as a writer. What I was saying is I think that this just is a testament to J.K. Rowling's writing, because I think it was really smart to pick characters like have Harry be from a Muggle world, because then you can introduce the world to him, but also the time. Like I've always thought that was like really clever, because he's gonna have the same questions we would have, and
right, he's discovering it with us.
Yeah,
and
like
yeah.
The exposition isn't forced. It's like him figuring out this new world. So I just think from a writing standpoint, that's really clever.
Wizard's Chest, which I still have nightmares about. Oh man, I reread it last night and I'm going through it, and the faceless white pieces, right? They're faceless.
Yeah.
And the fact that Ron has to like talk to them and they just nod back at him. The whole thing is so creepy. And I think I don't know. I think I get the scene confused between the book and the movie. So in the movie, they're like riding on the pieces, right? But in the book, they're not, right?
They're like standing in the squares for the pieces. So like when they go to the square, when he goes to the square that the knight would be in, the knight goes off to the side.
Right. So, okay. Yeah. Right. They leave.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess I am always like, wait, so why did Ron have to die? Or like his character had to get sacrificed? Does it stab him?
I think it hits him over the head with a sword.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yes. And the queen drags every piece she knocks out off the edge of the board.
That's terrifying. That whole thing is terrifying. I don't know.
And the thing is, he watches her do that several times before realizing that he's got to sacrifice himself, knowing that she's going to do that to him. Like he literally seen her do it and is like, okay, well, this is the way we're going to win this game. This is what we got to do.
See, that's how I know I'm a Slytherin. I'd be like, nope. Good luck, guys.
Draw this game out 5 hours longer, and we're all
right. So I guess I don't know if it's a favorite scene, but it is, you know, it's definitely stuck with me for the last 2 decades.
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna talk about unsettling scenes, like the Forbidden Forest with like when they're in there for their detention and they're looking for the unicorn.
Oh, the unicorn!
Hooded figure comes out and drinks and like her description of it's so good that you can really see it happening in your head. And I'm just like, oh, this is not very pleasant. I'm like, why are these 11-year-olds in the woods? Why is this?
Yes. Right. Like, why are they there anyway? Like,
why is this an appropriate detention?
Punishment. Right.
For being up late at night out of your room. You're going to be punished by being up late out of your room in a scary forest where there are werewolves and unknown creatures.
Did we think Dumbledore wanted this to happen? Or that...
I don't know, because
that they suspected, obviously... I mean, someone suspected. Hagrid knew something was happening to the unicorns. Do you think Dumbledore thought it was Voldemort and wanted like them to be in that situation?
I have never thought about it that deeply until this very moment. Like, why?
I know.
Right? You know, because like, and there's so many instances like in the series where I get so angry at Dumbledore for just being irresponsible and not fully explaining himself, and you know, just like, good luck, Harry. Have fun with those Horcruxes. But I'm wondering if like he anticipated something happening and that's why he didn't intervene.
I always kind of laid it on almost Filch for being sadistic, like, because I feel like sometimes he, like the stuff that he says they used to do, like it was like torturing students, and I feel like later on in the series at some point they have to like shine all the trophies in the trophy room or something. That's, you know, I think that's the second book. So spoilers for the next book, Harry's gonna have to shine some trophies.
But then like when they're, you know, when he finds Dumbledore at the Mirror of Erised, you know, and Dumbledore says, oh, I don't need a cloak to become invisible. You know, he knew the whole time that Harry had been visiting so frequently. So I'm just wondering, is Dumbledore there in the forest?
And then I mean, you're right though, because at the end, he almost brings up the Mirror of Erised, and it's like, well, I feel like he says something along the lines of like, I wanted you to see how it works. You know what I mean? Because Harry wouldn't have known that it shows you your deepest desires. I mean, in that moment, intuitively, he might have known his deepest desire was to find the stone, and it might have worked anyway, but it's almost like prepped him for it.
Right. So I'm just wondering how much of this, you know, looking back on it now, Dumbledore had orchestrated.
Yeah.
J.K. Rowling orchestrated it all.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe she just needed them to be in the woods at that moment. So
Well, I'm assuming if he suspected Voldemort was in the woods and then he sends Harry into the woods, what's going to happen?
What if the whole time they know that Hagrid had a dragon? Like, let's just say the faculty obviously are fairly smart and they're like, we know you have a dragon, Hagrid. I wonder, like, it's almost like they have to do their punishment with Hagrid. So Hagrid almost has to feel guilty about them getting in trouble for him because he had an illegal dragon. So I wonder if it was orchestrated in that way. It's like, okay, Hagrid, well, now you got to protect these small children in the woods because, like, let's make him feel a little bit more guilty for doing something kind of foolish. I mean, maybe that's even weird, but I don't know. I could see it a couple different ways.
Right. And that's why this book is so amazing. There's so many things you can go back over and see from all these different perspectives.
I think we should move on to themes. The ones that I had for, I guess my themes, like trying to avoid some of the ones that you can kind of just like find online. Like if you truly wanted to do kind of like a reader book discussion group, there's a ton of things online for themes. But I think ones that kind of like stuck out to me were, I felt like there were a lot of underdogs. Like I feel like Harry sees himself as an underdog. I feel like Neville's an underdog. They're like kind of like not the cool kids. They're the ones that are kind of trying to like figure out how to be in this wizarding world and dealing with characters like Malfoy, who I think falls into the spoiled little boy category with Dudley. Like there's some spoiled little boys in this that I feel like growing up, it's just a very, I don't know, there's some tropes in there that are just everybody I can identify with. You can identify with that kid who's like maybe had a little bit too much of everything, or clearly the Malfoy household raised a cruel little boy, so you kind of wonder how cruel. I don't think they were cruel to their son, but it's like the way he sees the world must be the way his parents talk to other people.
Right. So he saw them, being cruel to everyone else. Yeah.
Exactly. And then, I just think it's great when the underdogs kind of band together, like the part where Harry cheers up Neville after he gets stuck in that leg lock. I think there's a wonderful karmic payback when he is nice to Neville and then he gets the chocolate frog card and it makes him realize who Nicholas Flamel is. It's almost like serendipity, like, here's the answer almost, like just like instant karma. So I felt like those two kind of were, I guess, opposites of each other. I also felt like there was a lot of like family and love versus power going on, because I think we talked a lot about power and there's a scene at the end where Voldemort's explaining himself, or Quirrell's explaining himself. He's doing the bad guy soliloquy at the end, and he says he realizes there is no, like, it's almost like he's saying there's no right and wrong, there's just power and people who are too afraid to grab it. But Howard forgets about family and love, and that's why Harry can kind of burn him in the end with that pure love that he's surrounded with. So I think that's a pretty big theme throughout. And then just following your own intuition. There's a lot of gut checks in this book where he's right and he goes with it. And I think sometimes we need to trust our intuition a little bit more, because I don't think we realize subconsciously how much we're like kind of processing things. So I like that he listens to that.
And that may be a reminder for adults, like who are, we're constantly overthinking instead of, following.
Trusting your judgment call. Whereas I feel like kids act on instinct sometimes. So it's like a quick decision, but it might be like the safest one or the more
the
like
better one.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting.
Lisa.
I picked the regular ones, friendship, the quote I discussed before. Big themes, friendship, love and growth. The part where Dumbledore and him are at the Mirror of Erised, and he tells them that, you can't always dwell on your past. You have to live in the present. I think that's
preach.
Dwell on your dreams. You have to live in the present. can try to reach your dreams and work, but it's work. Like Hermione, they want to be a wizard. At the end, they're working to pass. They're not just, and they're living in the present. They're not just getting everything handed to them.
Right. Like, even though they're magical and they're wizards and witches, they still have to put in the time.
And
they still have to develop their craft.
Mm-hmm.
And
sorry. Oh, me? All right. And okay, let's see. Obviously, I think, this is pretty typical. The belonging, sense of belonging, finally finding your spot.
I was just thinking, I didn't think till now that whole, like, all the weird things that happen to Harry in the Muggle world that he gets in trouble for, when he finds out that it's been magic this whole time.
This whole time.
Kind of relief. Like,
right? You think you're like legit insane, but then it's like, oh no, it was just my magic.
Hey, talk to me. The glass disappeared.
Yeah.
You know,
the hair regrows.
The hair regrows, and there's part of it where he turns a teacher's hair blue or something.
Oh, yeah.
Beginning of the book too, and I was like, oh yeah. So now all these things that have been weirdly happening to him are explained.
Right. What a comfort. Instead of like thinking you're crazy. So the theme that I found this time, and maybe it's because of the times I'm reading it in, like with the pandemic, it's a stay-at-home order, but the importance of finding joy in simple things and simple pleasures, and one of the maybe the biggest one is right at the beginning, when this hugely traumatic thing has happened in the wizarding world, like Harry and James are murdered, Lily and James are murdered, his parents, and Voldemort's disappeared, but no one's really figured out the full extent of that yet. And then there's the lemon drop, like Dumbledore's like, have a lemon drop, here you go, like, who, it's like, what has just happened? But here, calm down, we're in the Muggle world, let's just have some candy for a minute. And then how at Christmas he's like, I never get enough socks. He's like, people always want to give me books. It's like, I never have enough socks. It's like, right now, don't you love like a fluffy pair of socks? Like, now, like, while we're stuck in our houses, like, and I think he's always doing that. And then at the end, after Harry's had this like hugely traumatic experience with Quirrell and Voldemort, he wakes up and there's all this candy next to his bed. And again, there's Dumbledore, like, I'll sample one. I haven't had one of these. He's been burned too many times by the every flavor beans, so he picks a safe color. Turns out to be earwax, but, it's like, you know what? Let's just take a moment to break some bread together. So I think I never really realized that before, and the importance of like the meal times and the community, like the only times that they're all really together is when they're sharing a meal.
You have to have that joy to balance the dark out. If you're going to talk about such dark topics, I feel like there has to be some pure joy to make it kind of, I want to say worth the ride, but it's like, if it's all bad, we're not reading a series of unfortunate events right here. We're reading Harry Potter, and it's like, there's just like the happiness and the magic and stuff that kind of makes it so that it doesn't seem like it's all a trudge through this book with horrible things happening.
Right. And I don't know, I think she just did it in such a great way, and that is one of the reasons why it's lasted so long. And And that made me appreciate Dumbledore more, like his ability to always be finding joy. I mean, throughout the books, you know, in these like little things. And I think that just gives us, you know, some perspective.
Every time Dumbledore makes an appearance, there's something goofy, whether or not he's making like a one word made up speech or talking about wanting socks or the lemon drop. I just feel like every time he's in, he's almost kind of like this very cloaked in mystery type character, but he always does something really quirky that's like unexpected. Like,
right. But like as an adult, I don't think it's like that goofy anymore. You know, like as a kid, it's like, oh yeah, but now it's like, yeah, give me that jelly bean. You know, like because sometimes you genuinely need that. You know what I mean? To like get through your day.
Oh, for sure.
You need that like you need like those small, simple pleasures and like those small victories.
I agree.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah. The part for me where they're all like the tests are all done and the Fred and George and another kid are tickling the giant squid that is I'm like, yeah, because you know, I'm getting, I don't know, I take my dog for a walk or I get out of the house and I can imagine just being by a lake. You're gonna tickle the giant squid and have, you know, your tests are done. Like the sun will come out tomorrow.
Right. And just going on a theme that you guys brought up, just with the troll and the friendship, and there's a lot of like strength in numbers, right? Like you're stronger together, you know, that whole thing. And I think like right now, that's a message we really need because so many people are frustrated being at home and this isn't like the easiest time, but the whole point is to do it together so that we're stronger, you know, as a society.
Yeah.
And doing it for everybody else.
I agree. I think that some of the magic of them going down the trapdoor together is you would have needed all three of them in order like they really needed to rely on their teamwork in order to get there because each of them had a different piece of that puzzle, you know, get to that end. Whereas, you know, just sending one down, like if Harry just went off on his own, he wouldn't have been as strong, you know?
Right, exactly. And I think right now, like that's such a powerful reminder for us.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Maybe I'm looking too much into it, but.
So I think just to close, why do we still love this book? Why has it lasted so long? Is it because you can interpret meaning from it that's relevant to your life in any circumstance? Like,
I think so. Yeah. I think like in any stage of life. And I know that personally, like when I've been experiencing difficult times, I keep going back to the books because not only because they're soothing in a way, but because they're always relevant.
Lisa, this is the perfect time for you to talk about, remember what you were saying yesterday about rereading books?
Oh, yes. How this counselor told me that rereading books that you're familiar with is a good way to relax in a crisis or when you're having, you know, something bad is happening because I was just thinking when Anne was saying that, it's like an old friend. Like,
yes,
back to it. It will give you comfort. It'll make you laugh. The parts that made me laugh the first time still make me laugh these times. If you're having trouble falling asleep or staying asleep, you can go to the book and you don't have to force yourself to like keep reading it to know what's going to happen because you can rest assured the same things are going to happen. And the things that you liked about it before are still there. And then you can find new things to like. Like I had forgotten about the scene with the centaurs and how the one Ferenz helps them, but the other two are like, the stars are bright tonight, you know?
Yes.
The heavens have written. And like things like that, you know?
Yeah,
Yes.
I feel like every time so for the new readers, I think it's amazing to get into the series, and like hopefully that's what will have happened with, J.K. Rowling putting, unlimited access to the books. But for
Right.
all the rereaders out there, I think for me, it's like I find a different piece of the puzzle every time I read it. And I'm just in awe about how many themes pull through the whole series. I'm in awe at how far back some of the clues to what's going to happen go, like how the whole story arc is, and that there's things that happen in the first book that are directly relevant to the last book. And I feel like it's only on rereading sometimes that you pay enough attention to the part that you kind of skimmed through last time. Maybe you read a little bit more carefully, or maybe this time around you're listening to it instead of reading it. Like this time around I listen. I feel like you hear different things than maybe you read because of the way the narrator emphasizes things. So I just think that each time you reread, the great part about the series is there's always something to come back for. There's always something that you might have missed. There's
Absolutely, yeah. Have we all read it and listened to it? I have.
I listened to it on CD in my kitchen in my old house.
Yeah, you did.
With Jim Dale. And I'm rereading now the illustrated version that I bought for my daughter, who didn't want to read it, but is now reading it.
I feel like such a Potterhead because it's like every new format that comes out. So I've read the original books. I read the illustrated ones when they come out. I've listened to all of the Jim Dale audiobooks, and now I'm like, I could listen to the Stephen Fry ones. And they're fun because then you get to hear all the British lingo that they chopped out of the American versions because they didn't think readers would appreciate it. So I just think it's funny. Like if you want to go back and listen to it and say, hey, wait a second, this seems a little different. I don't know. It's just a great way to enjoy it because they say things like revisions instead of studying or fringe instead of bangs. I don't know. I really like it.
Oh, that's what's in the illustrated ones. The illustrated ones keep saying revisions.
Revisions, yes. It's studying. They changed it to studying in the American version. I literally had both books open at once because I was like, wait a minute, I don't remember this word. That's how big of a dork I am.
It's making more sense now.
Oh, Lisa, to go back to something you said, I was listening to a podcast and I can't remember which one, but someone was saying that they had interviewed a child psychologist, and the child psychologist said, when children are asked to imagine a safe place, the majority of kids end up saying Hogwarts.
Huh. Really?
Sorrow when you think of all the horrible things that have happened at Hogwarts.
Right, but all the other things that happen, yeah. And the type of place that it is for Harry and Voldemort.
Well, and if you're a kid, think about how much more agency you'd feel like you had if you could use magic. Exactly. How much more you feel like you could protect yourself or influence things. Like, I'm gonna jelly leg you and run away. Thinking about I guess with the joy of the book, it's like I feel like I really appreciate Harry's when he figures out he's got a talent for flying. Like he's finally something in the wizard world that I don't have to think about.
Yeah.
What I would say though is then he works at it. So it's all of us have these fun little talents that we enjoy, or maybe you've got something that you've got a knack for, but then realizing it's you got to put work into it to be really great. I think it's fun that he recognizes his talent, but then that doesn't stop him from going to practice. You know what I mean? He still works his butt off on the Quidditch team to be good at what he does, even though in the beginning, when he first learns to fly, he's like, hey, I can just do this. I don't know. I feel like some people would kind of rest on that. So I feel like you don't have to. No one needs to put stress on themselves at this time. Don't feel like you need to learn it. We don't need to have kindness. But I feel like there's things in my life that I'm just I might be skating along. I like doing art and stuff, but maybe it's a good time to practice or just doodle to make myself feel better. So I don't know.
Self-care.
Take your talents and play with them and see what you can do.
There you go.
Great. Well, thank you everyone for sticking with us.
We hope you enjoyed our Harry Potter conversation. If you're interested in the Albany Reads Harry Potter project, please check out our website at albanypubliclibrary.org. The Albany Made podcast is a production of Albany Public Library in Albany, New York, produced by Stephanie Simon, Scott Jarzombek, and Ryan Slowey. You can find more episodes on SoundCloud, iTunes, and wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also listen on YouTube at Albany NY Library and on our website.